Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. Today I'm going to take you along as I do my first carving. I made this fan here for my secretary desk, so let's get started. To get started, I need to trace the profile of the opening of the case onto the carving block. I want to reveal around the carving, so I use a washer with my pencil to give me that offset. Next, I can take the block over to the bench and start dishing out the blank. I start out by using a 1.5 inch standard flat chisel to remove the bulk of the waste. Once I am close to my lines, I switch to a carving gouge to further refine the curved profile. To clean up and further refine the curve, I switch to a gooseneck scraper. Now that the curved profile is complete, I can start laying out the fan. First, I use a compass to draw the semicircle at the base of the fan, and next I can start laying out the rays. I use my dividers to divide out the curve into 13 sections, and next I'll draw the rays. The rays originate from the center of the semicircle and connect to the points that I divided out on the outer circle. I used a thin scrap of wood to connect the points. This scrap has to conform to the concave shape of the profile. Now it's time to start carving. I start by defining the outline of the semicircle with a gouge that matches the radius of the semicircle. Next I can start carving the rays. I start by defining them with a small V-gouge and finish deepening them with a larger V-gouge. After I have all the grooves cut with the V-gouges, I start rounding over the corners to soften the edges of the rays. For this, I'm using a small bent back gouge. The last bit of carving I do is to clean up around where the rays meet the semicircle. The last step is to hand sand the entire carving to even out the rays and remove the facets left by the tools. So I still have a little bit of sanding to do on this one. I have to take it through probably another grit level up to 180. It's at 150 right now. And I'm still working on the second one, and the second one's going a little bit faster and a little bit easier than the first one. There's a few things I did differently on the second one than I did on the first one, which kind of improved the process. The first thing I did was, instead of using a pencil to scribe out the semicircle in the bottom, I used the dividers with the points on them so that I could actually have a nice reference line to drop my chisel into, and that made it a lot easier to get that curve nice with the carving gouge. The second thing I did was, instead of carving with the V-tool down towards the semicircle, kind of with the grain, I did the other way around. I carved against the grain, at least starting out coming this way down towards the outside. That prevented me from having the chisel or the gouge jump and then gouge into my semicircle, which I had to happen to me a couple times on the first one. What I noticed on the first one is that the only time that really happened was when I was making my initial pass, when I didn't have the groove started yet. So that saved me a little bit of cleanup time, which was nice. Now this whole process of carving this fan came out of this book here, Building Period Furniture by Glen Huey. And he says something really interesting in here that I'll quote for you. He says, "Do not be intimidated by these fans. They are a simple introduction to carving." And when I first read that, I was kind of taken aback, like, yeah, I doubt it's really that simple, but it really is. As I hope you saw in the video, there really isn't a whole lot to this. Now I think Glen does say it best, just don't be intimidated by these simple carvings. They are a great introduction. If you're building something that could use some kind of carved element, a fan like this is definitely a good place to start. And I'm sure I'll be doing more carving in the future because it was a lot of fun and it was a really unique and different experience using those carving tools in the wood. So if you're interested in taking a look at this book, I'll have a link to it in the description down below. And I also have listed out all of the carving tools I used today if you're interested in taking a look at those as well. So thank you as always for watching, greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today with the carving or anything else here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I appreciate those and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.